21-year-old Lori Marilyn Pinkus was the youngest of 9 children and grew up in Ottawa, Ontario. Her family described her as a good girl, a kind girl. In Ottawa, she had been jabbed in the chest by 2 male assailants in her home. Charges were laid, but had been dropped after Lori failed to appear in court. A warrant was put out for her arrest. Hoping to escape her troubled past, Lori moved to Toronto around April of 1991. She settled in the Bloor and Lansdowne neighborhood, where she lived in a basement apartment with a boyfriend. Being addicted to illegal substances, Lori worked in the sex trade to support her habit. In the early morning hours of September 8, 1991, Lori left a bar after having drinks with friends, but she never made it home. At approximately 9:55 a.m., police and paramedics responded to an emergency call from the caretaker of Brockton High School at 90 Croatia Street. Lori was found alive, but barely. Paramedics tried their best to save her. She passed away at the scene. She had been assaulted and asphyxiated. Detectives noticed she was lying on her back, arms at her sides, as if on display. Her eyes were wide open. She was only wearing a halter top. Lori was 2 days away from her 22nd birthday. A full forensic exam of the scene and body were conducted. However, DNA testing was not available in 1991. In 2018, items collected from the crime scene was sent for DNA testing. A strong male DNA profile was developed. The perpetrator is currently not in the National DNA Databank. Many questions remain. Did Lori know her attacker? Was she the victim of a drug deal gone wrong? Was she simply and tragically in the wrong place at the wrong time? Here's what we know of the investigation. All persons of interest in the case have been ruled out by police. Police have that strong DNA evidence, but have not been able to make a match. The suspect would be over 50 years old now. There are no suspects. An anonymous call providing a name is all police need. Have you ever heard about this case? If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Like and share the video, and I'll see you in the next one.
Larry Pinkus is one of 9 children and has never gotten over the loss of his youngest sibling, Lori. Murdered in 1991, the homicide still unsolved.
She's just a good kid, really good kid. She, just a shame that this happened.
To get that phone call about your little sister must have been very difficult.
Yeah, it was horrible. It stays with you your whole life, right?
It was September 8th, 1991, just one day before Lori's 22nd birthday, that her partially clothed body was found in the schoolyard behind Brockton Public School, a popular hangout for drug addicts and prostitutes. She had been assaulted and strangled to death. Police believe that Lori, who had just moved to Toronto months earlier and who investigators say was working in the sex trade, may have met her killer on the way to buy drugs.
She had a drug habit, and she was trying to clean herself up, is my understanding.
So why did she come to Toronto?
To get away from Ottawa, where she was involved in all that stuff.
But after all these years, Larry Pinkus and his family are finally hopeful an arrest will be made soon.
It is time he is held to account for his despicable actions.
Just last month, the Toronto Police Cold Case Unit released this YouTube video and announced a major break in the case.
In 1991, DNA testing was not available, but recently DNA testing was conducted on this case. As a result, a strong male DNA profile was developed.
Though there is currently no match to the killer in the National DNA Databank, the Pinkus family feels it's now just a matter of time. You're not a very public person. You said you've never spoken publicly. Why now?
Well, now that it's all over, they got the DNA, like, let's end it.
Closure, something the Pinkus family thought they would never have. Now they do. Anyone who thinks they can help is asked to call police.
Nearly 27 years after a woman was found murdered in the city's West End, Toronto police are looking to the public for help in finding her killer.
There is no doubt that there are people that are close with the offender or who were close to him back at the time of this offense, and you know he is responsible for this murder.
21-year-old Lori Pinkus worked in the sex trade in the Bloor and Lansdowne area. Her body was found partially nude and strangled in the parking lot of Brockton High School on September 8, 1991. Police say they have recovered new DNA evidence from the victim's body, and they just need a name to link it to the suspect. Anyone with information is asked to call the Toronto Homicide Squad.
Homicide detectives believe they are close to making an arrest in the 1991 murder of a 21-year-old woman, but they are asking the public for help. Police say Lori Pinkus was last seen alive in the area of Bloor and Lansdowne on September 8, 1991. Hours later, her body was found nearby in the parking lot of Brockton High School. DNA testing was not available at the time, but now police say that they have a DNA profile of the suspect. That profile is not in the National DNA Data Bank, so police are appealing to anyone that can give them a name.
Lori Marilyn Pinkus was only 21 years old at the time she was murdered. She had recently moved to Toronto from the Ottawa area. She had been working as a sex trade worker in the Bloor and Lansdowne area. Lori was last seen in the early morning hours of Sunday, September 8, 1991, when she left a local bar after having a drink with friends. Later that morning, at about 9:55 a.m., the caretaker of Brockton High School, located at 90 Croatia Street, discovered her partially nude body lying in the school parking lot. She had been assaulted, strangled, and left for dead. A full forensic examination of the scene and the body was conducted. Many persons of interest were developed and eliminated during the course of the original investigation. In 1991, DNA testing was not available, but recently DNA testing was conducted on this case. As a result, a strong male DNA profile was developed. He is currently not in the National DNA Data Bank. Now that we have the killer's DNA, we just need a name to go with it. There is no doubt that there are people that are close with the offender or who were close to him back at the time of this offense, and you know he is responsible for this murder. It has been 26 years that this murderer has escaped justice. This is a killer who left a young woman's body on display in a schoolyard. It is time he is held to account for his despicable actions. If you want to remain anonymous, that is okay. We have his DNA, so all we need from you is his name, nothing more. Bring his name into this investigation so he can be held accountable.